681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in! Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Weather stinks here in Baton Rouge, but we'll take the rain, I guess. That's been few and far between over the last, 5 months. It's a little bit of dreary Tuesday. That's all right. Lady Tigers just got a win, a breakout performance from Michaela Williams, the young freshman, 5-star, top 5 player in the country from Bossier City. Goes for 42 points on 15 of 20 shooting, 5 of 8 from three-point territory in the PMAC earlier today. Just a breakout performance for a future star in the purple and gold. And LSU had their hands full with Kent State for a little bit, but Michaela Williams made sure that didn't linger too long into the second half. So nice win at home for Kim Mulkey's squad. Billy Embody's going to come on in 15 minutes and talk some recruiting. LSU lost a cornerback commitment. Michigan took a commitment that I'm going to tell you about here in a second. Some moving pieces there. Plus, with the firing of Jimbo Fisher, what does that mean for LSU's class and some potential targets that are currently Aggie commitments? Billy will fill us in on all of that in 15 minutes. Glenn West always with us at 1:30 on Tuesdays. He'll talk Tiger football, basketball, maybe a little baseball with Glenn as well. The Saints signed Jason Pierre-Paul. We'll get to that. Pete Butek of College Football News is going to be with us to talk Heisman Trophy, kind of big picture college football stuff. And Sharif Ishak in his normal slot at 2:30 talking Saints and Pels. So tons and tons and tons to do over the next 2 hours. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. I want to start with LSU's quarterback situation. As you're aware, it's pretty good right now. Jaden Daniels is having a pretty solid go of it. And now we've allowed ourselves, after what we saw on Saturday night, to honestly consider the fact that LSU could win a Heisman Trophy in 2019 and then 4 years later come back and win another one at the quarterback position when that position at this school was a significant problem for better than a decade. There were some bright flashes. There were some solid performances. But overall, it was a program that was churning players into the NFL at a rate higher than anyone in the sport, but struggling to find someone to be a game changer at quarterback. And Joe Burrow came along and shattered that. And Jaden Daniels is doing it as well. And at this point in the schedule, with Georgia State coming up on Saturday, who's not very good, and then Texas A&M, and then a bowl game where who knows who's going to play on either team or what bowl game it's going to be, you can allow yourself, I think, right now at this point in this week, in this season, to think about a big picture topic, which is the LSU quarterback situation as it currently sits. Jaden's done after this year. He'll move on. I think he's working his way towards a first-round pick. And then you pass the baton. And I think it's very reasonable to suggest that Garrett Nussmeier is the leader to be the starting quarterback against USC next year. Now, that is far from a certainty. We felt pretty good about the fact that it was Miles Brennan, Garrett Nussmeier coming in to be the quarterback last year, and Jaden Daniels transferred in and won that job. And that's certainly within the realm of possibility any year in college football that you would find a transfer quarterback that would come in. This year, A&M has started to transfer a quarterback. LSU started to transfer a quarterback. Ole Miss has started to transfer a quarterback. Mississippi State started to transfer a quarterback. Auburn started to transfer a quarterback. Florida started to transfer a quarterback. You get the picture. Like, this is the whole league. It's far more common to start a transfer than it is a player who's been recruited out of high school and has been with you for 3 years. But Garrett Nussmeier did come to LSU out of high school. He's currently a redshirt sophomore. He would have 2 years of eligibility if he wanted them at LSU to theoretically be the starting quarterback. Ricky Collins slots in right behind him. Talented player, bit of a project, but a hometown guy. And then Colin Hurley is in this class that's coming in. And I would strongly suggest, looking at that, Garrett Nussmeier, Ricky Collins, Colin Hurley, that LSU would get into the transfer portal to look for depth at quarterback. Doesn't have to be a starting quarterback. Plenty of guys have transferred and sat on the bench. Max Johnson transferred and was going to sit on the bench. Spencer Sanders went from Oklahoma State, where he started forever, to sit on the bench. Tyler Buckner transferred from Notre Dame to Alabama. He sits on the bench. Like, it's not every single quarterback that transfers is an immediate impact starter. So I think LSU will add depth at the quarterback spot. And I know that sitting here right now and trying to forecast LSU starting quarterback in 2025 and 2026 is largely a fool's errand. But all you can do is what you can do. And that's develop the guys on your roster and continue to go recruit. And the guys you sign or get commitments from may turn out to start for your program. They may bolt and start somewhere else. But with that understanding that we're not setting anything in stone here, this is not your, Jamarcus is the starter, and Matt Flynn's right after him, and he's going to start, and then Ryan Perley's right after him, and he's going to start. Obviously, you know what happened with Perley, but that looked pretty obvious at that point in college football. You've got a starter who's a first overall pick. You've got a veteran who's waited his turn, and he's going to be the next guy. And then you've got a precocious young talent who you'll ease in, and he'll take over the reins after that. Like, that's how it used to look. It doesn't look like that anymore. So you just evaluate the situation as a whole, and LSU has planted some seeds with some really, really talented high school quarterbacks. And Bryce Underwood is probably chief among them. He's a junior right now, won a couple of state championships. He's a top 5 player in the nation. He's from the state of Michigan, and basically we feel like it's down to LSU and Michigan for his services. Today, Michigan took a commitment from a 4-star quarterback in the 2025 class. That's Carter Smith. That doesn't mean that Bryce Underwood is not going to Michigan. But I'm going to choose to read some tea leaves there and think that Michigan accepting his commitment is certainly not a bad thing for LSU. That, to me, tells me that Michigan staff, who has an in-state player they have very much prioritized, is taking an insurance policy. And I hope they got to file a claim, because I hope that Bryce Underwood comes to LSU. 5-star quarterbacks from out of state don't make a habit of coming to LSU all that often. But as we started this segment talking about Joe Burrow coming here and becoming a star under the lights at LSU, and Jaden Daniels coming here and becoming a star under the lights at LSU, all of a sudden, LSU kind of looks like a little more attractive place to play quarterback. And Brian Kelly, yesterday at his press conference, was talking about what Burrow and Daniels putting these within a 5-year window means for the program.
Well, I think in certain instances, if Jaden Daniels was coming back next year, it certainly affects it in some fashion. Or let's say he was a sophomore, it certainly would affect it a little bit, right? But now that he is certainly in his last season of competition, it opens up just the fact that player development and the ability to compete for the Heisman Trophy exists at LSU, because it's not only right now, but it happened a few years ago with another LSU quarterback. So now you're starting to build not an accident, but a trend here at LSU. So that obviously speaks to recruiting and the ability to recruit elite quarterbacks to LSU.
And I think there's something to that. In the same way that I think that you can build a positive in the fact that this has happened under 2 staffs with 2 coordinators and 2 quarterback coaches in 2 different situations. Basically, what you could tell Bryce Underwood or whatever quarterback you're recruiting is, it's not just Steve Ensminger, Joe Brady, Ed Ogeron, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall, Sadiq Charles, Austin Deculus, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's not just that ecosystem that can produce Joe Burrow. We can also come back a few years later and have Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, and have Joe Sloan and Mike Denbrock and Brian Kelly and Will Campbell and Emory Jones and Mason Taylor, and it's a whole new cast of characters. But because LSU is such a high-profile place, and because we recruit at such a level, and because there are so many resources here to develop talent, that we can replicate this for you. This is not a one-time thing. This is not the same thing as like Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, who's basically saying, this is the ecosystem. Come on in, Baker. Come on in, Kyler. Come on in, Spencer Rattler. Come on in, Caleb Williams. Like, we're going to do this thing over and over and over again. And then he leaves, and then Oklahoma's like, well, we don't have that anymore. Well, they've played pretty well, and Dylan Gabriel's had a good go of it. But you understand the comparison I'm making there, where this was a Lincoln Riley offensive factory that really counted on him. LSU's been able to do this 2 different times, 2 different staffs, 2 different quarterbacks with 2 very different skill sets. So all you can do at quarterback is continue to recruit at the highest level you possibly can, with an understanding that guys are going to leave. It happens like that at every position, but quarterback especially. Jaden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier, Ricky Collins, Colin Hurley, and theoretically Bryce Underwood are not all going to have great 2-year runs as the starting quarterback at LSU. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to be Daniels in 22 and 23, and then Nussmeier in 24 and 25, and then Collins in 26 and 27, and then Hurley in 28, and then Underwood in 29. And that's not how this is going to be structured. Some of these guys are going to leave. Just happened with Max Johnson and Walker Howard. So you're familiar with it. But the point of this entire discussion is to look at the situation and go, you know what? You've created a really positive brand with this offense. You've got an experienced, talented guy that wants to be here next up, theoretically. You've got the ability to go out into the transfer portal and add depth. You've got a couple of young guys that are locked in Collins and Hurley. And then you try to go get that big fish in Bryce Underwood, and I think that may have taken a step in the right direction today with that commitment that Michigan took. It's a good spot that LSU's in. The variables over the next 5 years are going to be aplenty in this situation, but right now you're in about as good a position as you could be. And that just wasn't the case for better than a decade here in Baton Rouge. I mentioned Michigan taking a 4-star commitment. Carter Smith, number 8 quarterback in the country in 2025. What does that mean for Bryce Underwood? Billy Embody from the On3 Network going to join us to talk about that. LSU lost commitment as well today, and Kai Bates, a cornerback. And what does this Aggie class look like, and can LSU go in there and grab a few scraps? We shall see, and Billy will join us next, coming up on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Still lunchtime. How about Jersey Mike's? Highway 30 in Gonzales. It's near the new Heritage Shopping Center, just north, about a mile north of I-10 on Highway 30. Look, the original Italian, I'm just going to keep telling you about it because it's so good. It's the prosciutto, the capicola, salami, pepperoni with the provolone on their fresh baked bread every single day over there at Jersey Mike's. You can get it Mike's Way. It's got their juice with the vinaigrette, oil and vinegar. You can just get it with some mayonnaise like I generally like to do. Their catering is fantastic. Look, if you're looking to feed the office, looking to feed a watch party or tailgate party, looking to feed an entire high school football team, which they did on Friday, 2 of them, Jersey Mike's can handle it. And for Hunt Palmer Show listeners, 20% off. Just tell my guy Ken that the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. He will hook you up. Download that Jersey Mike's app to get points towards free food. Stop by and see our friends at Highway 30 in Gonzales. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time that slips away. Oh, like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Salisbury's joining us to talk some quarterback. Shea Dixon on recruiting. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You just heard that promo. You heard that Shea Dixon, part of the On3 family, is going to join Matt Moscona on After Further View to talk a little recruiting. I'm told that's going to happen at 4 o'clock. But Shea's not the only member of the On3 gang. You got Matthew Bruni, who was just crushing it at the women's basketball game today, where Michaela Williams dropped about 100 on Kent State. And you got Billy Embody, part of the Bingle Tider family on 3. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Y'all are all over the place, Billy.
Yeah, it's that time of year, that wonderful crossover period.
Kai Bates decommits from LSU earlier today. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think this is something that was brewing for a long, long time. He committed over the summer, and he was really, really quiet about it. There was kind of some buzz around, Tennessee being the team to beat, but LSU was the one that reeled them in, and Robert Steeples did a great job, just kind of playing that one out. Kai is a really quiet kid. He was just at Florida State, I believe, as well this weekend, but he's been continue to be pushed by Tennessee, and I think right now that kind of the word is that the Vols have some momentum there, but at the same time, they're also recruiting other DBs. And, for LSU, we look back on this fall and you see Andre Evans flip to Georgia, which is a guy that, they really would have liked to have held on to. I also feel like they've been going through their evaluations, as we've seen, landing a guy like Bernard Causey, P.J. Woodland. They've been, on the prowl for more cornerbacks, which makes sense with kind of where the position is overall. But with Kai, this is one that, yes, do they need corners? Absolutely. At the same time, I think he's somebody that maybe hasn't played up to his potential yet, and maybe we can see LSU reel in a defensive back that they still feel good enough about that addresses the position. Maybe they can add another. They're still recruiting Terry Bussey, the Texas A&M commit. They're also recruiting other cornerbacks and potentially going to offer more. So it's just a position that still has some fluidity, and they continue to make evaluations and go through the recruiting process with it, but it wasn't too surprising overall.
You mentioned Bussey, and I want to kind of transition to Texas A&M. Obviously, a coaching change going on in College Station. Elijah Robinson taking over as the interim head coach right now. But is there an opportunity for LSU to dig into that class in terms of commitments, or just guys that A&M is recruiting, and maybe do something here in the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, this has been one of the recruiting battles of across the country that is probably the most heated this year. There are guys that have landed in both classes for these schools that they've really been head to head on, and LSU did flip Weston Davis, the 5-star for us at On3 from Texas A&M, and they were able to get him on board to cap that push that Brad Davis made to flip him, and they were right there for him this summer. There's also been guys like Cade Durham, Highland Singleton, and others that were heavily considering Texas A&M. And on the flip side of that, you had Weston, who committed this summer to A&M, ends up flipping. Draylon Miller was considering LSU and Texas A&M and others, and ends up committing to the Aggies this summer. And LSU hadn't really given up there, and he's now decommitted and kind of back out there on the open market. And same goes for Terry Bussey, Gabriel Relaford, Dominic McKinley, even a little bit of Blake Ivy. These are all prospects that LSU has not necessarily given up on recruiting-wise. And if you look at Gabe Relaford and Dominic McKinley, those are guys on the defensive line and a major position of need in this class. So I think everything's on the table in terms of LSU pushing for those prospects and trying to flip them to finish out this class strong. And we'll kind of have to see what A&M does on their coaching front side of things and see how that impacts those guys. And the same goes for LSU. I mean, who knows what happens on the in particular the defensive side, or you never know with guys getting hired away and things like that when you have success on the offensive side. And that'll be something to keep an eye on just as the rest of the year kind of plays out.
Or is it still expected the vast majority of the people that we've mentioned here in this discussion going to sign in the early signing period? I feel like the vast majority of players do that, and that's coming up pretty quickly with the changes at A&M and with what you're talking about at LSU.
Yeah, exactly. Most of them will, and some of them are early enrollees as well. And even guys that are maybe toying with the idea of February signing and kind of unsure, most of the time there's enough time if you can get a coaching hire done at a reasonable amount of time where either they're going to realize, okay, this isn't the place for me, I'm going to go somewhere else, or they're going to say, okay, all right, I feel good about the direction, and I'm going to sign here, or I'm going to do whatever. There's usually enough time for those guys to do that. So I think with most, you're going to see them still sign during the early signing period, and others you'll see them make other decisions.
So we're talking about the 2024 class that could sign on the dotted line here in a couple of weeks. However, there was some news today out of the 2025 class. Harlem Berry, the number one running back in the country from Metairie down there in the New Orleans area, has announced that he will announce his commitment on December the 18th. What can you tell us?
Yeah, this is priority number one, 1A, 1B, really, for Frank Wilson in the class of 2025. He's also recruiting James Simon up in North Louisiana, who's a really, really talented back in his own right. But the number one running back in the country is in the New Orleans area at St. Martin's. And so Harlem Berry has now set his commitment date for December, and that's huge. It's right before the early signing period. It would be a really good opportunity to continue to build momentum in a very good 2025 class for LSU, but also just give the potential that Bryce Underwood could have him as a target if he were to commit to LSU on January 6th. But Harlem Berry is just kind of the total package now that he's kind of just grown up. There's a picture of him at LSU camp when he got his offer, and he was, smaller, kind of looked like a scat back, but very, very good. And going into his sophomore season, junior season, he really just added on weight, looks like a grown man now. And he's got elite speed, he's got elite production. And we've seen a lot of the top programs nationally go after him, but it seems like Frank Wilson and LSU have done a really good job. And I would expect good news at this point when he does make that decision.
You mentioned Bryce Underwood. He's been a name we've talked about a ton. Set a commitment date for after the first of the year. But the news out of Ann Arbor today was that Michigan took a commitment from 4-star quarterback Carter Smith in that class. Do you think that matters at all or tips Michigan's hand at all?
It might tip their hand a little bit, but I mean, when you're talking about the number one player in the country, if he ended up wanting to go to Michigan or any of these other schools that hold commitments from other 4-star quarterbacks or 3-star quarterbacks, I don't think it necessarily impacts, whether he's a take, whether he's going to go somewhere. But, I mean, LSU's been doing a really good job on Bryce Underwood and building this momentum. So we can look back on it and say, wow, that was, another point in the direction that this, could go LSU's way when we look back on it if he does commit to LSU. But at the same time, LSU's been already positioning themselves in a good spot. And, I mean, if he were to commit today, I'd expect it to be LSU. He hasn't informed any coaches of decisions, but some are maybe starting to read, the writing on the wall. He's still got a top 7. He has told us that he is still pretty set on making that decision on January 6th, which would be big because if LSU can reel him in on that date, then you can have him for the entire spring recruiting. He'd be out on the 7-on-7 circuit, which he's a part of with Sound Mind and Body out of the Michigan, the state of Michigan. He could be out there recruiting for you. He could go to the high-profile camps, all the things that you want your quarterback to do, he would be available for and helping you build your class up. So I think this is a commitment potentially for LSU that would, truly change the landscape of Brian Kelly's tenure. He's obviously won the SEC West this year. They're out, but this is a prospect that I feel like could step in right away and compete immediately for playing time, and if not, just compete. I think he can start. I think he's that good. And you're talking about a generational type of talent. So when you can bring in a guy like that, it'd be huge. And all signs, I would say, seem to point to LSU being the team to beat. And if he were to commit today, you would think it'd be LSU.
Billy, we appreciate some time, man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Billy Embody, part of the Bengal Tiger Network over there on 3. A lot of encouraging news. It's just a matter of getting to the finish line. I fully understand LSU fans' uneasiness with the defensive back recruiting. I think anytime you lose multiple commitments from guys that are 4-stars and that decommit and head to Georgia or Tennessee or anything, it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great when you have a couple of defensive linemen in your state that you'd really like and they decide to go to the state of Texas. But there's still some time there. And when I was in college and right out of college, I was following this every single day. What gloves are they wearing? What did the girlfriend put on Twitter? All that kind of stuff. I've backed off of that. Just show me when the ink's dry and I'll evaluate that. It's still massively important, even in the transfer portal era. But I just can't get into every single day with it. Billy and Shay do it, and they're awesome at it. So when things happen, we love to bring them on and have them to fill us in. So a lot to chew on in that segment there. If you missed any of it and want to go back and hear any of that, you can do so on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and it'll also be on Hunt on LSU, our Hunt on LSU YouTube channel. That's all LSU football. So we'll post that up there a little bit later today. When we come back, Glenn West, Go 24/7, going to jump aboard, talk about the Tigers on the field and what they can accomplish the next couple of weeks. Might do a little basketball chat with Glenn as well. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. I've been telling you about LSU Sports all fall long. They've been in the news. They're an awesome representation of the state of Louisiana and such a big part of our economy and so many of the great things that go on here in South Louisiana. It's the Marucci World Series. It's the baseball performance lab that they have. It's the national profile that they bring to the state of Louisiana. Just such an awesome organization that started right here in a backyard shed in Baton Rouge. So it makes them a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana like LSU Sports, maybe it's a company like that or a nonprofit, maybe a person, LWCC is telling their story through their Champions of Louisiana campaign. Go to lwcc.com/champions, nominate a champion of Louisiana. We can tell their story right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet. The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin.
For a Wednesday edition of Off the Bench, as Matt Flynn joins the show in studio for a full hour of flustering, and we start to preview the football weekend, including LSU versus Georgia State. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Pete Futek of College Football News in 25 minutes. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, in just about an hour, talking Saints and Pels. But for right now, we head back to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Our guy Glenn West covers LSU for Go 24/7. He's with us now. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
Doing well. How'd you put it into words watching Jaden Daniels on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to think about this one for several days now, and really the best way that I think I can describe that performance is it's a performance that we'll remember the stats, the numbers for years to come. I mean, there aren't many individual performances that I've really kind of imprinted in my memory for many years, but I'll always remember 372 passing, 234 rushing, 606 total. It's just one of those stats and one of those performances that you'll always remember. And he was just absolutely electric. I mean, he just did everything for this team on Saturday. He had, obviously when you put together a performance like that in the immediate aftermath, you're not really thinking about the team aspect that goes into it. But rewatching the film, you can really see the impact that guys like Josh Williams, Malik Neighbors, certainly Brian Thomas, all those guys, Noah Kane, all those players really had on that performance, and not just from a stat building perspective, but also in the run game and the blocking performances each of those guys had. It took a complete team effort to have a performance like that, and Jaden obviously took it and ran with it and did a really fantastic job. But I mean, it's just one of those performances, one of those stat lines that I think will kind of stick in a lot of people's memories for years to come.
If I asked you what you could do to give LSU's offense some problems, what would your answer be?
I mean, look, I think the biggest thing that teams like Florida State and certainly Alabama were able to do, they were able to get a little bit of pressure on Jaden. They were able to kind of force the ball out of his hands maybe a little quicker than he wanted to. But I mean, really, there is no stopping this offense when it's clicking. I mean, it really, in many ways, it resembles the 2019 team in that there just really doesn't seem to be a clear answer to that question, and that's just, I think, a total credit to the offensive staff. It's a credit to these players for improving it the way that they have. But yeah, I don't really have a good answer for you there. I don't think that there's really a way that you can stop him, because I mean, if you put a spy on him, he's just going to attack the one-on-one matchups. If you drop back in pressure, he's just going to take off and run for 15, 20, or as you saw on Saturday, sometimes 85-yard runs. I mean, it's incredible what he's able to do on a week-in, week-out basis. And one of the things that Brian Kelly really said yesterday that really has stood out to him about his improvement has been his ability to read through his progressions and knowing when to take off and to have those run opportunities. They don't feel as forced as maybe they were a year ago this time. And I think a lot of that credit is due to the fact that Jaden's improved so much mentally as a quarterback and as a pocket passer.
What did you think about the defense on Saturday?
I thought there were some good moments. Look, I mean, they got off the field, I think, 4, 5, 6 times. I can't remember exactly how many it was, but they did okay. They did just, I think the best way to describe it is they did just enough. I think they were a lot better on third down. I believe that they held Florida to 4 of 13 on third down, which is a really good mark for this group in particular. And I thought that the secondary and those young guys held up pretty well for the most part. And look, I mean, we know what this defense is at this point. There's not going to be any market improvement in terms of just the on the field consistency, but if you can get a couple stops here and there, the offense is going to take care of the rest. And as we saw on Saturday, 52 points is a good cushion to give that defense, and they were able to do, I think, just enough to kind of hold down Florida's attack, and I think they did a nice job overall.
What can they accomplish against Georgia State as a team?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great opportunity to pad some stats, maybe. I mean, I think that you're going to see the first-team offense go out there and be really efficient. I would imagine that it's probably a pretty quick day for a lot of these starters on the offensive side of the ball. The way that this offense is rolling right now, it's just hard to imagine them not having a ton of success in the first half, first 2.5 quarters, however long they want to keep those guys out there. But, there's a couple things to watch. I mean, I think probably the one thing that I researched a little bit this morning was Malik Neighbors is actually only 280 yards away from passing Josh Reed for career receiving yards. So, I mean, if you get a good dent into that, equation going into next week, that would be a really fun kind of last stat to kind of look at for Malik in terms of maybe him passing Josh Reed and becoming the all-time receiving yards leader. That would be a really cool storyline to kind of finish out the season. But, certainly there are individual improvements and development, on-field reps that a lot of these defensive guys can get, a lot of these younger pieces, and even some of the veterans that you're hoping to get back next year, like Parrish Sand or Mason Smith and Braden Swinson and some of the linebackers on the group. I mean, there's a lot you can accomplish, I think, with this game. But in terms of just what I'll be looking for, it probably won't be, oh my gosh, is Georgia State's run game going to be able to attack LSU's defense or something like that? It should be a pretty clean day if the Tigers show up ready to play.
You think Brian Kelly will give any consideration to the Heisman Trophy with Jaden Daniels the next 2 weeks?
I think so. I mean, he's been very vocal about it. I mean, I know we've asked him a ton about it as media people, but he's been very unafraid to really put it out there that he really believes that Jaden Daniels should win this trophy with the way that he's been performing. And I know that he's not going to get a whole ton of pushback from a lot of us media folks who especially have been able to watch him for every game this season. But I think he'll take that into consideration. I mean, whether or not that means Jaden plays 4 quarters on Saturday, I don't think we'll get that. But, if he's, 2.5, 3 quarters and LSU's able to put up, 45, 50 points again with him in the, as the starter and him to kind of add some of those numbers up a little bit, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they leave him out there a little bit longer than maybe you would think going into the game.
Quick gear shift here before we let you go. How surprising was Friday night in the PMAC?
Yeah, pretty shocking. I haven't seen, a first half performance that was so poor in execution in quite a while. I mean, there were a couple of games last year in conference play where LSU really kind of struggled, but to do that, I mean, for so much of the first half, it really looked like LSU didn't even belong on the same court as Nichols. I mean, they were getting just absolutely obliterated on their defensive rotations. Nichols was hitting everything on the perimeter. And then on the other side, the offense was pretty much just pass, take a turn, breaking threes and occasionally dumping it in to Will Baker for a turnover or getting stripped or a missed layup opportunity. I mean, they were all out of whack in the first half. And, give them credit. They came back in the second half and made a game of it, but they lost that game long before that buzzer beater. And there's certainly a lot of soul searching I think they've got to do before this game on Thursday and the Charleston Classic. And I know that they've been hard at work trying to figure out some of the deficiencies that they have right now as a group.
Were you surprised to see Matt McMahon hammer the table in the press conference? I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I was a little bit, but I think it was good that he showed that emotion. And I know that a lot of he's I think sharing a feeling that a lot of fans have right now, and that's they've got to be a little bit more passionate. I think when they're out on the floor, and they've got to really care about the opportunity. And I know that a big part of this off season was bringing in guys that they know are going to be able to care and are going to work hard to get this program back on track. So I think that was probably what stemmed from some of the frustration from McMahon after the game. He put a lot of it on himself, about not having the guys ready. But at some point, you got to look in the mirror if you're a player and say, we should be better than this, and we should absolutely not be in that kind of predicament again against a team like Nichols. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back and recover from that. But I think probably the biggest overall, just takeaway is, they really miss Jalen Cook, and they really could use an offensive initiator like him in the half court to kind of run things.
Glenn, we appreciate the time.
All right, Hunt. Thank you.
Glenn West, senior writer, Go 24/7, all your team coverage. Glenn does it all from football to basketball to baseball. Sonny does an awesome job with recruiting as well. So give him a look over there at Go 24/7. Pete Futek with us at the top of hour number 2. Sharif Ishaq will follow at the bottom of hour number 2. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service.
Charles Handegriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Modesto, Burbank at Nicholson. Scott Rabelais with us, as well as Wes Reynolds and the red-hot Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been a little bit of a topic of discussion. I talked to the staff today that look, we've got to evaluate everything that we're doing from top to bottom. We've got to make sure that we're from a coaching standpoint, doing the right things and coaching the right things, and B, are the players doing what we're coaching them to do. And so we've got to get those things more in tune. And certainly if they're not doing all the things that we're coaching them to do at the level that we need them to do it at, then yeah, we do have to consider some changes.
That's Dennis Allen. This is Black and Gold. Enter the bye week. And reportedly they are going to make a small change here. Certainly not a franchise-altering change, but a small one. Reportedly, Jason Pierre-Paul will sign with the New Orleans Saints during this open date. Of course, Jason Pierre-Paul, this time winning Super Bowls with the New York Giants and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is a guy who's in the top 80 all-time in sacks in NFL history on the defensive front, and they're going to bring him in and add a little depth there. This is certainly not a situation where he's going to come in and become the closer for this team and drastically alter the way the front looks. But he's going to add some veteran depth as they go through a period of some injuries up front. Jason Pierre-Paul turns 35 years old on New Year's Day, so in about 6 weeks he will turn 35. Last year he sat out of training camp, basically waited, and then signed with Baltimore in September. He played 14 games for the Ravens, had 26 tackles, 5 for loss, 3 sacks. You go back to 2020, which is 3 years in the rearview mirror, 9.5 sacks in Tampa, and made the Pro Bowl as a 32-year-old player. So, look, you understand the Saints defensive front has Cam Jordan, has Carl Granderson. Those have been your bookends up front. Tano Passignon is there. Isaiah Foskey's got a pulled quad. Peyton Turner had surgery for a turf toe right after the opener. So you've got some depth issues up front and especially at end. And you've also had production issues up front and at end. Granderson's been very good, and Cam Jordan's been fine. He's just not what he was 7 years ago. He's just not. The Saints are 28th in the NFL in sack percentage. They're 29th in the NFL in sacks per game. They cover pretty well. They stop the run pretty well. And they've been playing half of every football game pretty well. But there have been some glaring issues. And if Jason Pierre-Paul can come in, add some depth at defensive end, play on some third downs, give you 25 snaps a game, then that's a good thing. Pierre-Paul was quoted in this story saying, hey, I came in for Baltimore last year. I played very physically. I played tough. If you sign me, you're getting a guy that's been working out even though I haven't been playing. I'm in great shape. I want to play, and I think I can help shift a contender is what he said. I don't know if there will be any shifting going on with this Saints team. I don't know if Jason Pierre-Paul shifts much of anything as a backup defensive end. But I'm not going to hate on this move. It's a veteran, it's a pro, it's a big physical player, and I think he can help you just a little bit. How quickly is he elevated to the active roster? I don't know. Maybe immediately, because Foskey and Peyton Turner are down. Maybe he's on the practice squad and you wait to bring him up. I was kind of puzzled myself as to the handling of Jalen Smith with the Saints, because I thought that's a guy that's going to come in and play, and he didn't step immediately in and play. Jason Pierre-Paul, I don't feel like he's a guy who immediately steps in and plays, but I could be dead wrong about that as well. This one is not going to move the needle a ton for me, but I do think it's necessary at this point in the season. There just aren't that many guys you can go grab off free agency that are going to make a huge splash with your team as you approach Thanksgiving. That's not really a plausible reality. But I think Jason Pierre-Paul will help a little bit. Again, if you make it into the playoffs, you're talking about a 35-year-old defensive end, but a lot of guys on your defense are inching into their mid-30s. Cam Jordan, certainly. Tyrann Mathieu, certainly. Demario Davis, certainly. Now you bring in Jason Pierre-Paul, certainly. But Saints defense, well, it's not perfect. It's not the biggest issue. I think that the lack of production at times on the offensive end has been far more detrimental to the Saints. There are some issues that are a little bit more difficult to figure out on that side of the ball. But Jason Pierre-Paul going to join the Saints at age 35 as they enter the bye week. I want to remind you about our winners for the Pick'em contest earlier this week. Congratulations to Kevin Helt Sr. and Everett Feckerty. Kevin and Everett are our Week 11 winners in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em contest. They win a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 12 by noon on Thursday. You can play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. It's not a great college football card this weekend. As you're well aware, most of the SEC steps out of conference before rivalry week. Got a lot of 25, 35-point spreads this weekend. Not going to be a super awesome weekend of football watching as far as the Southeastern Conference goes. We'll see if Tennessee can give Georgia a run for their money in Knoxville. But outside of that, it's a lot of folks stepping out of conference and playing some bad football teams. ULM, I think, has lost like 8 in a row, and they're playing Ole Miss. You got Georgia State coming in here. Abilene Christian's going to A&M. It's a lot of that this weekend, as we know. That second weekend in November, third weekend in November, not always the best. If you missed any of our first hour, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. All of our full shows uploaded to all those platforms each and every day. If you're looking for some shorter, more digestible Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints, we'll have you covered there. I opened the show talking about LSU's current quarterback situation, whether that's for the next 2 days, the next 5 or 6 years. We all understand the perils of trying to forecast that far out at that position, but I gave it a shot, so you can go back and listen to that or find it at Hunt on LSU. Billy Embody talking recruiting. What can LSU do with A&M's class? What does Michigan taking a quarterback mean? LSU lost a commitment today. All that is in our interview with Billy. Glenn West of Go 24/7 with us at 1:30. We'll have Sports Center when we come back for hour number 2. We got a couple of guests. Pete Futak's going to talk with us about the college football from a national perspective. He covers the sport for College Football News. I'll give my thoughts on the college football playoff picture. And then we'll have Sharif Ishak talking Pels and Saints at the bottom of hour number 2 before Take It or Leave It. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Come back after Sports Center for hour 2 with the Hunt Palmer Show.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey is out in Buffalo. With the Josh Allen-led Bills offense stagnant for well over a month, the Bills fired Ken Dorsey. The past 6 games, the offense held to under 26 points, particularly has struggled in the first half, and turnovers continue to be a problem for Allen. He's got 11 picks on the season. First Take co-host Shannon Sharp.
There is no team that's able to overcome bad quarterback play. And right now, Josh Allen is playing bad football. You can say, oh, he's immensely talented. His arm talent, his ability to run, his athleticism, he can make every throw. He's that immensely talented, and he's a turnover machine.
Quarterbacks coach Joe Brady is Buffalo's interim OC. Giancarlo Stanton's agent is warning free agents about joining the Yankees. In a statement to The Athletic, Joel Wolf said players have to be made of Teflon mentally and physically because they can never let their guard down even in the offseason. That was a response to comments from Yankees GM Brian Cashman, where he said the injury-plagued Stanton is going to wind up getting hurt again more likely than not because it seems to be a part of his game.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Tuesday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll have Sharif Ishak coming up in 30 minutes talking Saints and Pels. I wanted to hit a number of college football topics with our next guest. He is Pete Futek, publisher of collegefootballnews.com. Joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Pete, it's been a minute. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Everything's going fine. How about you guys down there?
We're doing pretty good. We weren't good 2 weeks ago, but Saturday was fun, so I guess we can start there. Your impressions of Jaden Daniels to this point in his final season in college football and where you would have him in terms of the Heisman Trophy right now?
He's pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good player. Yeah, look, this is the fun part about the transfer portal, and it's for all the screaming and yelling and crying and whining that people like to do. It raises the overall game of college football because all of a sudden everyone's got a quarterback now. So he was very good at Arizona State, but that was like 15 years ago. Like now he's old. Now he knows what he's doing. So does Bo Nix. I mean, SEC people couldn't laugh hard enough. Oh, ha, ha, Oregon, you're getting Bo Nix. Good luck with that. And he's right there. Michael Penix Jr. was a talent at Indiana, and now he's right there in the mix. And so you get all these transfers who just make all these teams better. And Jaden Daniels has obviously been great. Now, the stats are part of it because the defense is so bad, and it's kind of like Caleb Williams of last year where you jack up the stats because you got to keep throwing a million times and running to get things going. But his stats are pretty much comparable now. If you want to put the comp, it's like Lamar Jackson 16, where he's on a team that's not going to win anything big, but he's just so dynamic and so good, and he's in the right spot because people actually are awake when he plays as opposed to when the Pac-12 teams play. I'm convinced nobody's actually watched Pac-12 football yet. That he's going to be, as long as he keeps doing this and the stats are there, he's going to be somewhere on everyone's top 3 list.
Is there a possibility that the West Coast splits between Penix or Nix, or are we going to get that answer when they play again?
No, yeah, that'll come down. If for Daniels, there's two. There's the big thing. One, it's all about the stats. He could use one more wow game or wow moment when everyone's like, yeah, look at that. just to kind of keep him around, because all of a sudden there's going to be that championship weekend where he's out of the mix. And if a Marvin Harrison Jr., who is not having a Devontae Smith season, but he just so happens to play for Ohio State, and everyone watches Ohio State, and everyone knows he's a top 5 overall pick, so they assume he should be a Heisman winner. But if he goes off and Michigan loses, and Ohio State beats Michigan, if he has that Devontae Smith versus Florida type game where 15 catches, 180 yards, and they win, that changes everything. And if Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. go off on the other, and the winner of that Pac-12 championship game, if it's that, goes to the college football playoff, that's going to be it. But again, the problem is you've got this literal West Coast, East Coast thing where just people just don't know Bo Nix. They just don't know how good he has been. And Michael Penix Jr. is still just kind of that guy in Washington. So over the next couple of weeks when it's really out there with these big games coming up, yes, then those guys are going to be more and more in it.
That's Jaden's biggest problem because he's got Georgia State this weekend that no one will watch. And then while he is playing in the game right after game day on the final weekend of the regular season, so you would think he'd get some eyeballs, everyone's going to Ohio State and Michigan for that. And LSU's playing A&M, who doesn't even have a coach. So I don't think anybody's going to watch Jaden the rest of the way.
Well, and as a Heisman voter, my thing is always, who's the guy? Who is the signature player of the college football season? Because the NFL drafts for the best guy. And, a couple of years ago, you had all these people screaming at me. It was actually 2020. Like, why isn't Trevor Lawrence here? And well, because he was kind of just okay. He was good. He's obviously the number one pick. But, it's supposed to go to the best player. Well, yes, but who's the signature? Like, Joe Burrow was the guy. Yeah. And that was the combination MVP, MOP. He was the player of the season. And that's kind of how I do it. And it's kind of hard to do that if the guy isn't playing for a team for the college football playoff. So unless the stats are so out of this world overwhelming, it's going to be hard at least for me to put Daniels number one. But look, if this could happen fast, and Oregon State could screw this up and beat both Washington and Oregon and ruin that for Penix and Nix. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. has an 8-catch game, for 58 yards against Michigan, then no. I don't think Jordan Travis is going to come anywhere near this thing. So there's your Jaden Daniels thing, because everyone else could kind of sort of drop off.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. One of the only interesting things left for LSU's schedule the last couple of weeks. Speaking of interesting, what is going on at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh? Is this going to be resolved before a playoff, or what are we waiting on?
It is resolved. It's at the moment, if nothing else happens, he gets to coach in the Big Ten championship game. The College Football Playoff Committee, and rightly so, is basically saying it's not our job to judge that. It's not our job to be the investigative body and all that. It's our job to take the eligible teams available to us, and we are going to rank accordingly. And the process through the NCAA, what the NCAA did was they basically said, okay, Big Ten, you have we're giving you what we've got. We can't do anything yet because we have to go through our 2-year process of checks and balances and all the other parts to the NCAA investigation. Remember, they just got done investigating 2016 Kansas basketball. So they don't do things fast. And the Big Ten, who doesn't have any rules against anything that's being alleged here, kind of took all that and they're like, they're trying to thread a needle here. They weren't going to completely deep stick Michigan. And so this is kind of a happy medium. And so big deal if Harbaugh isn't on the sidelines, it just doesn't matter that much because he's still around the game day preparation. So as always, when it comes to coaches and it comes to college football and it comes to scandals, these things will blow over fast.
Let's talk about Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M. Were you surprised at the timing, and a thought on what may be next in Aggieland?
It's a whole hell of a lot of money they're deciding to give away to, what's the really crude Charlie Sheen line? I don't pay for them to come over. I pay for them to leave. It's like, good, go do whatever you're going to do with the rest of your life. Here's $78 million that, could have been spent on anything else in the world other than an ex-football coach. But it just goes to show, this has gone so crazy. The stat I came up with, figure out yesterday is right now, after all the guys who got whacked, there's only about 33 coaches left who have been with their same program for 5 years or more. And out of those 33, either 10 of them are either going to get sacked soon, or they're on just flaming hot seats, or they're probably going to leave. So you're at the end of this whole coaching carousel, there's probably going to be like 20 guys who are going to run for 5 years, and then drop that in half if you're going past 6 or 7. It just doesn't work. The contract extension thing, the big long deal, doesn't work. You're better off just treating college football head coaches like rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. You give them a low contract, prove it, and if you're good, you will get paid through the roof if you produce. But not until then. And this idea of like, oh, you just beat, State Tech, woohoo, everyone's happy, we're going to give you a 3-year contract extension. You're just begging for bad paper from here on out. So obviously Texas A&M has an idea, because the crazy part about it is they just won. They're going to go to a bowl game, and they have a real shot to have a 9-win season. And nope, see you later, Jimbo.
You have any idea where they might go next for a head coach?
The problem is, who do you have that makes that splash? And it's Texas A&M, and like every massive school and fan base, including yours, which actually turned out to be right, they think, oh, we can get anybody we want. Well, you know what? We'll just throw money at Nick Saban. We're going to go get Dan Campbell. We could get anybody. Why wouldn't anybody want to come to Texas A&M and be the head coach? And it doesn't really work like that. So either, who's the guy who's going to come out there and come to College Station and make the splash like Saban made when he came to Alabama, where you're not saying you're going to get the next Nick Saban, but a guy who you're like, yeah, okay, we now it's on. Now we got a guy who's going to make this a thing. And who is it? It's not even really Urban anymore. That's kind of like Michael Jordan with the Wizards. It sounds great, but no. So who is it? It's not Dion. They're not even going to go bowling this year. It's not. There's no just named guy out there who, even like Brian Kelly, who you could kind of see that he was great at Notre Dame, maxed out what he could do, and now is at a place where he can get just a different level of talent. You can see where he's going to take this program. I'm not sure who that is. If I'm Texas A&M, I go to G.J. Kinney at Texas State and be like, look, if you're 34, your offense just crushed it at Incarnate Word and just took Texas State from being Texas State to a player in the Sun Belt and the bowl team. Can you do that here? Can you be the guy we're going to build around for the next few years? And you don't pay him astronomical money. You can get him on the relative cheap. And you see, maybe this is the superstar that we think he is. That's how I would kind of do it. But it's Texas A&M, so they're going to go try hiring Steve Sarkisian or do something big to appease the donors who are all mad at Texas for being good.
Last one here, Pete. We appreciate your time. Who's the best team in the country right now?
It's Georgia, but the problem is it a mirage? Because the SEC isn't good. The SEC, out of all the Power 5 conferences, the SEC is by far the worst in head-to-head competition so far against other Power 5 teams. And it's by a lot, because out of the 8 losses, I think 7 of them were by double digits, including Alabama losing to Texas. And so Georgia's great. Alabama looks good, but again, it looks thin because it's hanging around with, heavy people, because it's looking great against mediocre teams. It'll be interesting to see what comes out tonight from the College Football Playoff Committee, because they probably, I wouldn't be shocked if they put Georgia number 1. Ohio State's just okay. It looks beatable. And the problem with the committee is if you're ranking Michigan, it's all on eye test, because at the moment they look like the best team in college football, but Penn State's their only decent win. So it's one of those 3. With all that said, if Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship, Georgia's probably not in the college football playoff. Yeah. So this is going to all be really interesting. So we got a historic year. We have never had 5 10-0 teams at once in the history of college football. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Pete, we appreciate the time. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah.
He is Pete Butek, publisher at College Football News, kind of hitting a cornucopia of topics, if you will, there with Pete. And he is right. I plan to do the next segment on the college football playoff and kind of my thoughts on what tonight means and what I think could happen. And I'm just going to pivot off of it because there's just too many variables. Just give me 3 weeks, and then we'll talk about it. It has a chance to be a fascinating discussion with very little emotional buy-in from me, because I've given up on Alabama in terms of the winning the war there. I don't care about Georgia, and then Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Oregon. I don't care about any of them either. So like it could be a fascinating test case. Usually this thing finds a way to figure itself out. Georgia wins out. Michigan beats Ohio State. Florida State and Washington win out. That's your 4. And that could happen. But Oregon could win. Georgia could beat Bama. Florida State could get upset. Like, there are things that could happen that change the dynamics. And usually that happens. But we'll see if it does this time. Instead of diving into all that, let's just talk a little LSU football. Here's some sound from Brian Kelly coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. Go to the website. Check out some pictures of their great work. Look at the testimonials of their great work. I was chatting with David Duvall a few weeks ago, and he was just showing me on his phone some of the pictures of some of the new closets that they had done in recent months. And not only when they do a closet project for you, do they customize the closet to your exact wardrobe and needs and space, they also make it look gorgeous. It's functionality and it's aesthetic with One Bath and Closets. And I can promise you this. They're not going to take your job, get done with it as quickly as they can, and move on to the next paycheck just to come back 2 weeks later and fix something that broke. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Look at the pictures of their great work. Look at the testimonials and get that free consultation so David and his team can come over and tell you what they can do for you in terms of remodeling and renovating your bathroom or your closet or both. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7.
This Sunday, as we bring you 3 different NFL games, we start with the noon kickoff, the Chargers at Packers. Immediately following that, it's Buccaneers at 49ers, and then the night game, the Vikings and Broncos. Catch all 3 of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Looking for something to do this evening? How about sports trivia at Pluckers on Nicholson, 8:30? Get you out of there by 10 o'clock, 5 rounds, live action trivia. You can win Pluckers gift cards. Watch some great basketball tonight. They got the Champions Classic with Michigan State, Kentucky, Duke, and Kansas. I don't even know who's playing who, honestly. I know it's those 4 teams, and I know they're playing tonight. We'll be watching it out at Pluckers and hopefully having a great time as always. So come on out, grab a team, and we'll see you at Pluckers Nicholson location at 8:30. Unfortunately, yesterday, Brian Kelly announced what you had to fear when you were watching the game on Saturday night, and that's that John Emery did tear his ACL. Maybe the best move he's made in 4 years at LSU. The initial cut on that play that he just lost a guy in the backfield, turned it up, and then went to make another cut down there in the red zone, and his knee gave out on him. So John Emery will be done for the season for LSU, which is such a bummer because you know that's just been a long and winding journey for John, and had an opportunity in that game to be one of the leading ball carriers. And while he's made some really big highlight plays, no bigger than the touchdown against Alabama last year, like to finish strong. And unfortunately, John will miss the rest of this season. Kelly updated the status of Logan Diggs yesterday as well.
We'll see where Logan Diggs is. Obviously, he didn't play last week. We think he's better. Today, obviously, is our day off. Not day off, but we'll just be in the weight room today with meetings. We'll go out tomorrow, and we'll get a better sense, as to where he is. He would be the only other.
Probably not a situation against Georgia State you're going to push anything there, especially if Logan Diggs has some eyes on the National Football League. I don't know if he does or not. He may not. But he's got that opportunity. And so you wouldn't figure in a non-conference game that this would be a spot where he would be pushed if things don't feel good enough. So that leaves you with less guys than you had initially in terms of running back. Well, you had 8, and obviously you've lost the services of John Emery. Logan Diggs is banged up. We have not seen Armani Goodwin all year. Trey Bradford, not really since the first week of the season. Then you've got Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly with Josh Williams. And that, I think, is likely your rotation. I think Josh Williams takes the majority of the snaps, and then Caleb Jackson fits in there. And quite frankly, this is a great spot for Caleb Jackson. Of course, he had the touchdown run in the game on Saturday. But I'd like to see a lot more of him in the game coming up against Georgia State. I think this is a great chance to get him comfortable. I know that he muffed that kickoff, and that was a huge play in the game, but you got to get him a lot of reps at running back because it feels like he's your odds-on guy to be the next running back at LSU, at least the next starting running back at LSU. And Brian Kelly talked about Caleb's development now moving forward with 2 weeks left to go in his first season.
I think inch by inch, it's been a process for him. He's learning the game. The new nuances of the game. We saw it, prop up with, the mistake on the kickoff return. Those little nuances we have to continue to work at. But he's such a great kid. He's so fun to work with. But you're going to have some of those, blips. You want to minimize them. But he's been exciting and fun to work with.
I'm starting to pick up on some things with Brian Kelly now that we're almost 2 seasons into his LSU tenure. And one of them is that he's very, very detail-oriented, not only with the day-to-day operation of the football program, but also with the development of players and the execution of of things that seem small to us on the outside in the game. I say that because I hear him mention things like this all the time in press conferences about assignments and details and execution of fundamentals and all those kind of things, where we look at a running back and on its surface level, it's like, okay, know the offense, know where to be in terms of formation, know where to be in terms of your assignment, and run the football hard or block. But there's just a lot more that Brian Kelly asks of his players, and that's why I think more often than not, they go with older players who they can trust more often to be in the right place and doing the right thing. Like, Josh Williams doesn't do anything on a football field to the level that Caleb Jackson can. He can't run that fast. He's not that big. He's not that strong. He's not as agile. All those skills that Caleb Jackson possesses in spades, Josh Williams doesn't necessarily have those. But he knows where to be. He knows what to do, and they can count on him to do it. So it may not reach the level of Caleb Jackson on his best day, but you're not going to go below a standard that LSU requires of the players that's got out on the field. My take on it is that in a game like Georgia State, if Caleb Jackson doesn't perform some of these things to the standard that's required, not going to cost you the game. Going to be just fine. Unless he fumbles 4 times and misses a pass pro that causes another fumble of Jaden Daniels, LSU can be just fine against Georgia State. So with Emory out, with Diggs banged up, this feels like the time for Caleb Jackson to get some carries. Now, if you remember last week, at this time, I told you when we figured that Logan Diggs may not be available, that I thought that the veterans would get the lion's share of those carries. I thought Josh Williams would lead the way, and I thought John Emery would be involved. That's against Florida with Emery available. Against Georgia State with Emery not available, I don't feel the same way. Especially if you get up 24-7, 28-0, whatever the case may be. Let's let the freshman get his feet wet. Let's do it. Because there's so much potential there. And quite frankly, if you can develop a little confidence against Georgia State, I'd like him running the ball a little bit against Texas A&M. Okay? Because I'd like to win that game. I would like to win it last year, obviously, but I'd like to win it this year too. I know that A&M's not trying to build a program at this point. It's been shattered, and they're going to have to rebuild the whole thing. I know that they're not a threat right now in terms of, hurting LSU's season in any way. You're going to the ReliaQuest Bowl or the whatever else bowl. I don't even know what they're called anymore. I still like to win the game. And I'd like it if some recruits that were there that were considering both programs would watch LSU win that thing by 40 points. That's what I would like. And if Caleb Jackson can be a part of that, all the better. But we'll see later on in the week when Brian Kelly meets with the media. He'll do it on the SC Media teleconference tomorrow morning. And then Thursday evening, he will meet with the media one more time. And then the Coach's Show with Chris Blair. And we'll probably get the final word on Logan Diggs coming up this weekend. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust invite you to bling in the holidays. Register today at 1045ESPN.com to win $10,000 custom piece of jewelry handcrafted by Stuart Selassie himself. Bling in the holidays with Citizens Bank and Trust, Selassie Jewelry, and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'll take a time out. Sharif Ishak coming up next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Prevent those power outages. I know that it's not storm season anymore. There's another one coming. We know this. Have Boudreaux's Electric come out, take a look at your home, understand what you need powered and what capability generator you need, and have them install a Generac generator that's customized to your home. And I can promise you this, they're not going to just contract somebody to come in and put that generator in. They're going to have a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee come out and install that Generac generator, and there's going to be a free 10-year warranty that comes with it. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been operating Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. They can help you prevent power outages. One, if you're at home when the power goes out, you spare yourself the inconvenience. You continue to have the AC running, continue to have your freezer and fridge, you continue to have TV or whatever you want done. they can make that happen. 2, if you do evacuate for a storm and the power goes out, you'd like to have the power running at your home so that it stays cool. Fridge and freezer keep running, and you come back home to a functional house as opposed to a disgusting refrigerator in a 90-degree house. Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that Generac generator. Call them now, 225-300-9389. That's 225-300-9389, Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly...
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Salisbury's joining us to talk some quarterback. Shea Dixon on recruiting. 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Tuesday. It's 2:30. That means time to head down to New Orleans. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, in the building via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, how are you, sir?
Well, better than the Saints and Pelicans.
Yeah, there's some issues. We'll get to it, I guess. Let's start with the Saints. Offense awful to start, defense awful to start. A little bit of a flurry late, not enough. What was the biggest issue on Sunday?
The slow start by the defense for the fifth straight game. They continue to give up explosive plays. Josh Dobbs absolutely schooled them in that game. I mean, things like that, eventually we're going to bite them, these slow starts. And look, Josh Jobs got a better head coach, better play caller, put him in a better position to win. And that Saints defense, man, it's starting to look really old.
Yep.
And it looks so slow. It looked so slow against Josh Dobbs. It would look like they were truly in quicksand, like trying to run in quicksand. They could not stop him. But yes, that to me was the biggest issue Sunday. I mean, each side of the ball was awful.
Good news, the Saints defense get a little younger. Jason Pierre-Paul's coming. He's only 34, turns 35 in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and then at this point they're reaching.
Yeah.
They're reaching for any help whatsoever. I mean, when you have 18 sacks and 18 takeaways, yuck. I mean, that's just not good for the defensive front to only have 18 sacks.
Let's go to offense. I mean, Carr banged up, Jameis. You take it from there. Like I'll facilitate a little bit better on interview questions, but I'm just curious your overall thoughts on the entirety of this offensive functionality.
Well, the Derek Carr experience continues. The experiment experience both continues as the roller coaster ride. He is absolutely just missing way too many throws or scared to make a lot of throws. There was the play before he got hurt. They were near midfield. They were running a cover 2 hole shot. 2 guys down the sideline were wide open about 25 yards down the field. The nearest defender about 10 to 12 yards away, and he doesn't throw the ball. He holds on to it, gets sacked, and loses the ball. Ruiz recovers. A scared quarterback doesn't make that throw. I think for some reason he is just afraid to throw the ball sometimes. And I don't know why. I don't know if he just doesn't trust himself or he just doesn't trust his receivers. But that's not a good way to live moving forward in that offense. I just think there's no chemistry there. There's no consistent chemistry. It's been very inconsistent all year, and this is who they are, Hunt. This is who this offense is. They are what they are. They are mediocre. Or maybe, and that might be being nice.
Mediocre Carmichael. Could I go there?
I mean, look, he's got some, he's a lot of dirty hands in this. He's part of it. Derek's part of it. The receivers, the offensive line. But the two main problems to me, and the biggest problem, and I know people might not agree with it, is Derek Carr. Everyone wants to blame Pete Carmichael, the play calling. No Taysom Hill. He only had 1 carry. Well, it's hard to have 1 carry when your team is playing behind, all game. But Derek Carr just isn't cutting it consistently. And the constant yelling at players and being frustrated, it's still there. I mean, you want to blame Pete Carmichael, he gets a little blame, but to me, I think a lot of it needs to go on the quarterback.
So what needs to be accomplished during the open date?
Well, they got to get healthy. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore and Michael Thomas are, have significant injuries. One has a knee, one has a high ankle sprain, so they're going to miss a few games. And I think Derek Carr needs to get together with the rest of his offense. I mean, they need to meet consistently. I think Lance texted me. He goes, "Hey, ESPN." Before the game said they were just meeting for the first time this week as a whole. Like they met one day, and he's like, he was blown away by how the offense doesn't meet consistently. And I was blown away when Lance texted me that. I was like, wow, really? How could that be happening? They're just meeting. They're just now starting to hold meetings together with all the players. I'm like, it makes no sense to me. If that's been going on now, I mean, like, it just seems like there's a lot of lost control in the locker room. Like, what is going on? So they have to find a way to right the ship. Now, it's not going to get much better. I mean, if they haven't beat up on this easiest schedule in the NFL by now, I just don't know, how much better it's going to get. I mean, Vegas was right. 9.5 is probably the best they're going to get out of this team. And that's a shame. That's a shame because you shouldn't be 5-5 with this easy schedule. You should at least have 7 wins by now.
Is 9-8 good enough to win the division?
I mean, yeah, but what does that tell you about the future of the franchise? It doesn't say anything. Who cares? It's just a Band-Aid. You're just essentially putting a Band-Aid over the situation, and you just hope that maybe you sneak in I think the worst division in the NFL, and you never know what happens if you get into the playoffs. But what confidence do you have in the offense and defense and aging defense being able to stop the Dallas Cowboys or the Seattle Seahawks at home? They're really not much confidence in that.
Is that the sense in the city?
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, you are not tricking any fan. You're not tricking any former players. You're not tricking anyone who's played the game of football about what's going on with this team. Everyone sees it. It's just, it's out there. It's just not good. And I know they don't like hearing that, and within the building, but even they know it's not good. It's bad. I mean, you shouldn't be 5-5 against this schedule. You just let a third-string quarterback, a team with their third-string running back, no Justin Jefferson, no Osborne at receiver, light you up. You can't let that happen. That's the type of stuff that the team should be frustrated with, and the Who Dat Nation should be frustrated with. I mean, if you haven't fixed it by now, I don't know how you fix it 10 games into a season.
Well, let's transition to more happy thoughts with the Pels. They managed to hold the Mavs to 136 on Sunday. They'll play again on Tuesday. You think they can hold them under 136? I don't know. They've lost 5 in a row.
What Luka and Kyrie did the other night was just absolute destruction. I think they had to combine 65 points. They were 11 of 19 combined from 3. It's just the effort. The effort is so bad, Hunt. The effort was so bad. This losing streak, you've seen a lot of lack of effort, and I'm worried. And I thought having Zion and Brandon Ingram, would solve a lot of their issues. I think missing CJ really hurts them because the guy who facilitates the offense, a leader. It's just you got 2 guys out there right now just not gelling. There's no synergy at all whatsoever. It just looks bad. For example, their plus-minus with both of them on the court right now is the worst in the NBA. You take them off the court, somehow the Pelicans are better. It should not be like that with Zion and Brandon Ingram on the court. You should not be worse with them on the court. And those 2 guys have to, show better effort on both sides of the ball. I mean, up and down the court. I mean, it's just the effort isn't there.
Has there been a bunch of mention of the defense? The Mavs score 136, Minnesota 122, Denver 134, Atlanta 123, Golden State 130. I mean, it seems to be a recurring deal that you're giving up north of 120 points. It's an offensive league. I get it. And Luka and Kyrie aren't exactly easy to deal with, but you got to hold some teams closer to 110 points.
Yeah, and I think the problem has been, and the crazy part is the 3-point defense is the best in the NBA, but they're allowing way too many of them just to get up. A lot of these players are getting way too many open threes. They're not closing out. And the other big problem, the offensive rebounding. I mean, they're allowing teams just to kill them on the glass. I mean, they're absolutely getting abused on the glass, giving the team second chance points and chance for second chance points. And that's why they're giving up a lot of points, the open threes and second chance points, because they can't rebound. They just absolutely cannot do the basic things right. And that's what's absolutely crushing them right now in this losing streak.
Got a long homestand here, but it's tough teams. Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, a couple with Sacramento before you head out west. So you got to find a way to stop it somehow, some way. Can they do it tonight?
No.
Okay.
No, I just do not see how they are going to get better. I mean, I just listening to Zion the other day, how frustrated he sounded about hey, I said I would take a back seat when it came to his offense this year compared to last year. You don't want to hear words like I'll take a back seat. I mean, I don't know what to do. Those are the things that that just sound so bad early in the season. And the only way they can win it is their 2 stars just show up on both ends. I mean, they have to give all the effort on both ends. It can't be iso ball, no rebounds, and just watching. I mean, you watch these teams, Hunt, they're doing a lot of moving without the ball, cutting to the basket, things that the Pelicans aren't really doing. So, yeah, I just don't feel confident about the team on this homestand going against contenders.
Good vibes down there in New Orleans, Sharif. Thanks for sharing that with us.
No problem. It's not my fault.
No one said it was. We appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
All right.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU. Look, it is what it is. You're hearing it on every show here with the Saints. It's 1 step forward, 2 step back for them, and they just look to be so mediocre and aging a little bit. And then you look at the Pels, and you look up at a team that, with a little bit of buzz early and a nice 4-1 start, to go out there and lose 5 in a row and just get gashed defensively the way that they have. And then you look at the homestand, and if you continue to get beat at home by these contending teams, you're gonna let the interest wane in the city. That's just the reality of the situation. It's not a city that's just going to support you thick and thin with basketball at this point. They need a contender. They need a consistent product, and right now it's not very good. But it's very, very early for that team. So we'll get deeper into that as the weather gets into the winter. We'll take one more time out, come back and close things up on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Been thinking about joining FanDuel? No better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and insert that promo code 1045ESPN. To kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues and knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
For a Wednesday edition of Off the Bench, as Matt Flynn joins the show in studio for a full hour of flustering, and we start to preview the football weekend, including LSU versus Georgia State. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's close up shop here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I do want to mention, as I did at the top of the show, but wanted to point out again, the Lady Tigers played today inside the PMAC at 11 o'clock in the morning. I know my cousin who goes to the lab school over there at U-High She's in like 7th grade, and they went as like a class. So I think it's one of those deals where let some kids come in and watch the team play. And it was quite a show. Freshman Michaela Williams from LSU scored 42 points, an LSU freshman record, 15 of 20 shooting, 5 of 8 from three-point range. Michaela Williams is a top 5 player in the country coming out of Parkway up there in Bossier, and I think she announced her presence on the stage at this point. She is a star in the making, and today she busted out and had a monster performance. So good on you, Michaela Williams. Shout out to the 318. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The Bills have fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey.
Yep.
Joe Brady is going to take over with the play calling duties. Career resurgence for Brady over the next month. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Hopefully. Look, I can't think of a much better situation to try to launch yourself again as an offensive coordinator than to have Josh Allen, who's playing at an elite level. I know he turned it over a couple times last night, and I know there were drops involved in that as well. But his completion percentage was leading the league. He's incredibly athletic. He can make every play. You've still got Diggs. Like you've got a good roster. Is it the best roster in the NFL? Are they as good as they maybe were 2 years ago? I don't know. But as far as opportunities go for Joe Brady, this is a pretty good one here with an all-pro caliber quarterback and a really solid roster. So hopefully Joe does a good job. I said this after the 2019 season was over. I wrote this in a column that I wrote, and I was like, after that ride we went on, all the people involved in that, I'm pulling for you forever. So I hope Joe gets it figured out in Buffalo and maybe gets that full-time gig.
Heinz is releasing a pickle-flavored ketchup. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. Disgusting. Pickles, inedible. Can't have them. Unacceptable.
Pickles are inedible for
absolutely.
you. Okay.
Can't have pickles.
What about cucumber?
Good. Excellent. Love cucumber. Love cucumber on a sandwich. Love cucumber on a salad. Big cucumber. Once you pickle it with vinegar or whatever, nope. Can't have it.
All right.
Not sliced, not spears, not fried, not dill, not nothing.
Not even fried pickles at Pluckers?
Nope.
Wow.
They got fried macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
I'm going to get fried something. It's going to be macaroni and cheese and not pickles.
Fair enough. All right, moving on here. Liberty head coach Jamie Chadwell
This is awesome.
posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, yesterday with his location one, and it was Starkville, Mississippi, where they just had a head coaching vacancy open up. Chadwell tipped Mississippi State's hand. Take it or leave it.
Look, I'm going to have to take this.
I'll take it.
I don't know if it's been photoshopped or
I'm
what,
pretty sure it was real.
but it makes a lot of sense. If it was about his coach's show, he tweeted in response like, hey, see y'all out there tomorrow. And sometimes when you're tweeting, you have your location put on, and it will put at the bottom where you are, whether it's Alec Box Stadium or Starkville, Mississippi. And his said at the bottom of the tweet, Starkville, Mississippi. Now, unless Jamie Chadwell is recruiting somebody from Starkville High School, which I'm sure he could try to pass off on, then he's probably chatting with somebody.
Seems like not a coincidence.
Yes. So, I mean, there is a Starkville High School, so it can be done, but I got a feeling that may have been an oopsie.
A little bit more on college football coaching. Oregon football head coach Dan Lanning said there is zero chance, quote, he leaves Oregon. You believe him. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. Coaches leave all the time, and I don't know if he's going to leave in this cycle or who would call him, but just let me toss a hypothetical out there to old Dan. What if, say, 12 months from now, Nick Saban announces these will be my last 2 games as Alabama head coach. This will be my last season. I'm going to coach the non-conference game. I'll coach against Auburn, and then the next game, and that'll be it for me. And Alabama's brass called Dan Lanning up there in Eugene, Oregon, and say, hey, Dan, how's 8 years at $9 million a year sound? Zero chance he's leaving Oregon for Alabama? Okay, well, I think I've got some different thoughts on that than Dan, but I appreciate that he has to do it. I always struggle with the media members asking coaches whether or not they're interested in other jobs or leaving. There is not a single answer.
They're never going to say.
There's nothing that can be provided that does any good to any coach when that question is asked. And I guess that's the reason why the question is asked. I've always been on record. I like Nick Saban's approach at Miami. Said, are you going to be the Alabama coach? I'm not going to be the Alabama coach, so don't ask anymore. Well, that's dead. Then you just come out and take the job. Well, I didn't want to tell you at the time. Not your business. And I got to deal with my team and try to. So I'm okay with just straight up lying to the media at that point because if you sit there and half answer, say, well, I'm very, very happy here and committed to moving this thing forward. And, well, you didn't say anything. It's like, well, I mean, you, as a professional, you take other options when they come, and you certainly don't just take yourself completely out of leverage for a pay raise if that's what you want. So I just, that whole deal with media, I understand that they have to ask the question. There's just nothing a coach can do to make that good.
That's take it or leave it.
That's take it or leave it here on this Tuesday. Pluckers tonight, 8:30. I'm not going to eat any fried pickles, but you can have as many as you want if you come at 8:30 to Sports Trivia tonight. Open up the show talking about LSU's quarterback situation currently and moving forward in the future. If you want to hear that whole segment, you can go to Hunt on LSU on YouTube. It is always right there. All our LSU football content funneled into one place. Billy Embody talking recruiting. We had a decommitment in the defensive backfield. Michigan took a quarterback. What's A&M's class potentially look like in the next couple of weeks? Can LSU capitalize there? Lots with Billy from On 3. Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, talking on field with the Tigers, whether that was basketball or football. Jason Pierre-Paul signing with the Saints. I talked about that at the end of hour number 1. Pete Butek, college football news, talking all things college football from Jaden Daniels and the Heisman to Jim Harbaugh to Texas A&M. I had some Brian Kelly audio about the running backs earlier in this hour, and Sharif Ishak talking the bad Saints and the bad Pels. Low vibes right now in the Big Easy. You can catch all that on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and, of course, Google and YouTube. Come back tomorrow with his SEC Power Rankings, J.D. Piquel. Lots and lots to get to. Matt's going to drive you home one after further review. See you tomorrow. It's on Palmer Show.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench. Live